Everything to do with the Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot drama is also not helping at all in the least. In fact, it's only making things worse for the Disney image, for the overall Snow White box office results.
Disney doesn't know what a Disney princess is anymore, which is crazy.
What was this Academy Awards? Anyway, feminist Conor McGregor.
Who the fuck is that guy?
It's a weird walk for a weird broad, and I don't like her.
It is, and it's really mean to put her next to Gal Gadot.
It just takes a beloved movie and makes it much more boring and much less realistic. The movie is really, really bad. The primary suffering is being sent in by my company to watch a children's movie as a single man, like 2 p.m. on a Thursday. That was the first part that was a little bit weird, but I was basically the only person in the theater.
Gal Gadot just ripped the curtains wide open on a nightmare no one ever thought possible. Turns out the disaster behind Disney's Snow White remake wasn't just about a bloated budget or some sloppy storytelling. Nope, this chaos ran much, much deeper. And all signs? They're pointing straight at one name, Rachel Zegler. From the very first day of filming, whispers say Gal and Rachel were at each other's throats. Not over petty nonsense, but over the soul of the entire movie. One actress fought to protect the magic, the professionalism, the legacy of Disney, while the other, she stomped onto that set with a firestorm of defiance that nobody could contain. And if you think this was just minor tension, oh honey, think again. What happened behind those castle gates ended up wrecking the whole film, turning a multi-million-dollar dream into an absolute nightmare.
People wanted to see this. Even the little kids who like Disney movies, even they don't seem to be turning up in droves for the movie because the movie is really, really bad. And so I've got some bona fides here on being fair. The movie was absolutely terrible. Every way that the movie differed from the beloved 1937 original, it was worse. The movie was like you took the original Snow White and just put everything through this filter of liberalism. It wasn't through a filter of Japanese anime, it was through a filter of liberalism. So from the casting to the class politics, politics, the regime politics, everything about it was liberal. Snow White is generally understood to be a very, very white person. And in this case, they decided, nope, no, that doesn't make any sense. So I don't think we're allowed to say that, right? I was referring to the movie as sand beige.
According to people close to the production, it was Rachel Zegler's attitude that set the match to the powder keg. Outspoken, disruptive, loud. That's how they described her. And before long, that fiery tension on set exploded right into the box office numbers. Millions of dollars. Gone. Poof. In the blink of an eye. Fans were left heartbroken, stunned, asking what the hell happened. And guess whose name kept popping up? Over and over? Rachel. The controversy didn't stop at a few side eyes or shady glances either. Nope. This thing spiraled into one of the ugliest Hollywood meltdowns we've seen in years. And Gal Gadot? She's finally ready to spill every last bit of tea.
Really knock on her. If you did the autobiography of Malcolm X, would you cast Tom Hanks? If you remade Moana, would you cast a little Irish guy? No, you wouldn't. So that was off the top.
It is not racist to suggest that a character who is described in the original as skin white as snow, that is literally how the character is described in the original, that's a character description in the same way that, as you mentioned, in Moana, this bizarre fixation with race shifting everything, but only in one direction by Disney, obviously is quite strange to the politics of it, because obviously this was a big thing for Rachel Zegler, the star of the film. It was a big thing for all the left-wingers who made the movie.
But trust me, we're just scratching the surface. This wasn't about who had the nicer trailer or who got top billing on a poster. No, this was a full-on clash of worldviews, ideologies, and egos. Gal wanted to respect the classic Disney magic. Rachel, she wanted to bulldoze it, and everyone in her way. What erupted on that set wasn't just a petty feud. It was an all-out war.
Everyone's going to have their assumptions about what it's actually going to be, but it's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. And whether or not she finds love along the way is anybody's guess until 2024. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood.
They replace the prince with a common criminal. So there is a prince-like figure, but he's no longer a prince, he's a criminal. And I think this plays first into the class politics of the left, which hates even the very idea of aristocracy or nobility. She's right, they clearly want to diminish the love story. I think after the backlash from those comments a year and a half ago, whenever they were, they did beef up the love story a little bit, but nevertheless, he plays an ancillary role. And you see this in the fuller scope of
It all started the moment Rachel Zegler swaggered onto set, riding high after her West Side Story success. According to insiders, Rachel showed up acting like she owned the place. Bold, brash, untouchable. Meanwhile, Gal, our Wonder Woman herself, walked in with grace, ready to honor the role of the evil queen while giving it a modern twist. But guess what? From the very first meeting, it was clear Rachel had zero respect for the old-school Disney legacy. Word has it, Rachel slammed the original Snow White as irrelevant. She didn't just want to update the story, she wanted to rip it apart and remake it in her own image. And when Rachel started questioning the very character Gal had poured her heart into, the evil queen, things got ugly real fast. Gal, who had spent months preparing, was left blindsided. How do you bring your best when your co-star is openly trashing everything you're trying to build? But that tension? It was just the opening act, because once the camera started rolling, the situation spiraled out of control. Rachel didn't just voice her opinions about the movie, she made everything political, every hot-button issue you could think of. Global conflicts, feminism, historical grievances. Rachel took a loud, unapologetic stance. And while Gal stayed professional, keeping her political beliefs private, the on-set atmosphere turned toxic. Crew members described the air as ice cold whenever the two women were forced to interact. You could literally feel the frost. Then the internet got involved. Old tweets from both actresses resurfaced. Fans tore into Rachel for her inflammatory takes. Others accused Gal of representing outdated views. Suddenly, the focus wasn't on the movie's magic. It was on a nasty, ideological catfight that nobody could look away from. And the drama only got worse. On set, insiders said the atmosphere got unbearable. Filming days turned into a series of mini explosions. One day, Rachel would storm off, furious over how the evil queen's lines supposedly reinforced outdated stereotypes. Another day, she would blast Gal's performance, calling it too safe, too traditional, not nearly radical enough for her vision. Imagine training for months, perfecting the perfect mix of evil elegance, only to be told by your co-star that your whole approach was wrong. Gal was reportedly crushed. She wasn't just fighting to bring her best. She was fighting to be heard in the middle of a hurricane. Behind the scenes, crews split into cliques. Some whispered that Gal was the true professional, calm and poised despite the drama. Others rallied behind Rachel, praising her for modernizing the story and pushing boundaries. The smallest things, costume fittings, lighting delays, even script tweaks, sparked outrage. Tension was so thick it choked the life out of the production. Everyone was just waiting for the inevitable explosion. And boy, did it come. When filming wrapped, fans expected the usual, a glittery, polished promotional tour with the two leading ladies side by side, laughing and smiling for the cameras. What they got instead, awkward silence. Gal and Rachel were almost never seen together. Interviews were separated. Red carpet events were mysteriously staggered. The chemistry you'd expect between Snow White and her evil queen? Gone. Vanished. Non-existent. And people noticed. Oh, they noticed. Tabloids had a field day. Feud behind the fairy tale. Snow White's Ice Queens. Headline after headline hinted at a total collapse of their working relationship. Official PR teams scrambled to spin the narrative, scheduling conflicts, family obligations, all the usual excuses, but nobody was buying it. Then Rachel, instead of lying low, doubled down. At a press event, she boldly defended her comments about the original Snow White being outdated. "I stand by what I said," she snapped. Disney execs reportedly panicked. Gal? She watched in quiet horror as the negative press drowned out any chance of promoting the movie. Suddenly, the focus wasn't on the film's magic or visuals. It was all about Rachel's remarks, her activism, and the fallout from her divisive takes. Memes exploded across social media. Snow woke, the wokest fairy tale, Snow Fight. What was supposed to be Disney's next billion-dollar smash hit turned into a punchline. And when the movie finally dropped, the real disaster unfolded. Theaters were empty. The movie, which cost Disney a jaw-dropping $250 million, pulled in a pitiful $168.6 million worldwide. It was a colossal flop, one of the biggest in Disney's history. All that money, wasted. All that hope, gone. Fans blamed the bad casting, the weak story, the heavy-handed politics, but more than anything, they blamed Rachel Zegler. All across Twitter, Reddit, YouTube, people pointed fingers. Rachel's constant trashing of the original story, her divisive political speeches, her attitude. They had turned audiences away long before the film even hit theaters. And insiders? They weren't shy about where they placed the blame either. Some claimed Disney executives were furious that they realized too late Rachel's antics had alienated the loyal fans who grew up loving Snow White. Others whispered that even Gal Gadot, as classy and quiet as she was publicly, had privately vented her frustration. She had tried to play peacemaker, tried to stay professional, tried to promote the film without stirring drama. But once Rachel went fully rogue, there was no saving it. Disney insiders reportedly began scrambling to salvage other upcoming projects, slashing budgets, delaying releases, freezing plans for live-action remakes like Tangled. They didn't want another Snow White-sized embarrassment. And sadly, Gal's position at Disney reportedly became shaky too. Not because of any wrongdoing on her part, but because she had dared to speak the truth about what happened behind the scenes. Executives don't like messy feuds, especially ones that spill into the public eye. But the real nuclear bomb? The fan revolt. After the film's flop, Rachel got absolutely torched online. Fans accused her of disrespecting Disney's legacy, of hijacking a beloved fairy tale, of thinking she was bigger than the story itself. Rachel tried to clap back. She called out the haters. She defended her beliefs. But it only fueled the fire. While a handful of hardcore fans stuck by her side, the majority, they weren't having it. They were done. Meanwhile, Gal stayed dignified. No messy Twitter fights, no defensive rants. But according to leaks, she quietly started opening up to trusted friends and industry insiders. And what she shared was jaw-dropping. According to sources close to the production, Gal revealed that Rachel didn't just criticize the script or the direction, she attacked everything. The original Snow White, Disney's brand identity, even the Evil Queen's legendary lines. Lines Gal had painstakingly worked to honor. Rachel reportedly wanted everything ripped up and rewritten to fit her vision. She even demanded changes that clashed with the fantasy tone of the movie, turning classic lines into clunky, awkward speeches about modern values. And if anyone disagreed, Rachel allegedly bulldozed right over them. No compromise, no discussion, just chaos. Insiders say Gal watched helplessly as Rachel's behavior infected the set like a virus, dragging down morale, dividing the crew, and turning what should have been a joyful production into a nightmare. By the time the public heard whispers of these revelations, the damage was irreversible. Rachel went from Hollywood's bright young starlet to the face of one of Disney's biggest disasters. Gal's quiet honesty only added to Rachel's downfall. She didn't need to trash talk. She didn't need to post rants. Just a few subtle admissions from Gal, and the world saw the full, brutal picture. Rachel Zegler wasn't the plucky heroine saving Snow White for a new generation. She was the storm that wrecked it. Now everyone's asking, can Rachel ever recover her reputation? Will Disney trust her or anyone like her with another beloved classic? And what about Gal? Can she truly walk away clean, or will the shadow of Snow White's disaster follow her too? One thing is crystal clear. This wasn't just a movie flop. This was a full-blown Hollywood cautionary tale. Because sometimes when you forget the magic that made the fairy tale timeless, you end up burning the whole kingdom to the ground.